Hello everyone, happy Friday. It is almost the weekend. Hope you are doing well. Hit that thumbs up button and subscribe button. Happy to be back after a few days off, and a lot has happened. Also coming through are pictures of Harry at a sports award show, which I will cover later. I will look at that later. I just want to catch up with the news that I didn't cover while I was away. There's quite a bit. So let's get into that. Let's get into that, shall we? Right, let's see who is here. Hi, Heather. Hey, Clark. Well, it's late at night for you, but it's afternoon for me. Remember, I'm 8 hours ahead. So, yeah, it is afternoon for me, but I am so grateful that you are joining me. Hey, Brenda. Okay, let's get into it. First and foremost, I'm not in this World Cup for many reasons, including the ones obvious that I don't think I need to say. But it is most definitely not coming home. And you know when I realized it was cursed? You know when I realized England was cursed? When I saw this. Harry Kane, who I think he's the captain. Is Kane still captain? Whatever, he's on the team. Played golf with Trump. He was invited to play golf with Trump. This was confirmed by Trump himself, and Kane also, oh yeah, he is the captain. Kane also confirmed this in a press conference. One of the things that irritates me about this is the way in which people now treat male sports athletes as some kind of dignitaries. Mind you, dignitaries say no to meeting orange menaces and dictators. So you as an athlete, you can't say no, you absolutely can. You know who did say no? The US women's football team said no. The hockey team said no. But these male athletes keep on wanting to meet this menace. This menace who just paid a woman sitting president just paid a woman millions. I think it was 5.6, something like that. 6 million, let's round it up. To a woman who accused him of assault and he tried to defame her. And you're sitting here casually talking about how you were at golf and it was great and it was surreal to meet him. It was surreal to meet a world leader who right now, as we speak, is ordering a whole branch of government under ice to literally detain citizens, some of those citizens have been unalived, booming them in the face. I can't say the actual word because of the censors, but you get what I'm saying. If this was an African, I want you to think about if this was an African leader behaving the way Trump is behaving, would the England captain be talking about I had golf with him? I don't think he would. The same people, by the way, who were outraged at the fact that the last World Cup was in Qatar. It's not coming home and you done cursed it, sir. This has got to be one of the most disastrous World Cups for so many reasons. I haven't been watching it. I don't really want to, I mean, various players from different teams are currently stand accused, credibly accused, or are standing trial for assaults. And those are just the ones that we know of. At least 7 that I'm aware of. Like, I'm so glad we're finally having some of these conversations about these male athletes. I haven't been watching. I haven't watched a single match. But yeah, it is not coming home. Not coming home for the England team. Cursed it themselves. Next thing. Oh, and there was also something going on with the Argentinian team where they held up some kind of sign or banner. This is to do with the whole the history of the Falklands. I don't actually know the history of all of this too well, to be honest. But apparently this was seen as a political statement in regards to that whole historic situation. And UK FIFA is now calling to have the Argentinian team fined or something. If only they were this concerned about the abuses on their teams. But yeah, I don't really know a lot about the history of this. Some people are saying it's a joke. Obviously, you know, okay, wait, hang on a second. I'm reading this. In 1982, England went to war with Argentina over the Falkland Islands. Argentina calls the Falklands Las Malvinas. Once the war was over, the Argentinian writer George Luis Borges described it as a fight between 2 bold men over a comb. Okay. Still, Britain chalked up the Falklands conflict as yet another victory for their imperial might. On Wednesday, Argentina beat England in the World Cup semi-finals, and after the match, the Argentinian players held up a large banner, as you can see here, saying the Malvinas, translated as the Malvinas are Argentine. Keir Starmer's last days, by the way, as Prime Minister are going to be spent forming the committee to renovate the Falklands. Anyway, isn't this a prime example of the banter British people are famous for? Exactly. So why are they getting mad? Mad at what? Isn't this all just in good fun? Just some post-game bragging? I reckon FIFA will probably actually give them a fine, by the way. I also didn't know because again, I'm not very educated on all of this. Apparently, the United Kingdom has sent a warship near the Falkland Islands in the same week. Why? I don't know. But yeah, anybody who's clued up on the history of that can add some more context. That's all I have to say about the World Cup. Next thing, oh, just a reminder, friend of Harry, friend of Harry, Miss Anne Harriman, has a movie out in the UK called Shoot the People. So it's probably only getting a limited run. This isn't a massive box office movie, but where it is showing, please go and see it, because then they'll see the demand and hopefully extend where it will show. And as and when it comes out via streaming, I will let you know where. And please do support that if you are in the UK. It is a screening there. Please support Friends of Harry and Meghan. Now, off the back of Harry's week in the UK, which I am going to call a victory. I'm going to call it a victory. I wrote an article about this on my Substack. Harry may have lost his court case, but he won. I believe that he won the war. And it's very likely that Harry could appeal this. And not only is it likely that he could appeal this, he could also appeal it and win. And I'm going to tell you why later on in the podcast. But for now, just to recap on Harry's week. Harry did not win that court case, but he won the week. He charmed everybody wherever he went. Look at this picture of these royal rotor rats. Look at Chris Ship. Have you ever seen Chris Ship so happy? And look at all of them. Look at all of those reporters. It is such... it is just so infuriating. That's the word I'm trying to find. It is infuriating that the British tabloids created the culture of vitriol that they did in order to destroy Meghan. Harry became a casualty of that, but the main focus, the majority of the vitriol was always towards Meghan, to get Meghan to leave, to get Harry to divorce her. It was always, let's hurt and get rid of Meghan. If Harry gets hurt in the process, well, he, as far as they're concerned, he chose to marry her, well, he needs to divorce her, and then this will all stop. And we know, even if Harry and Meghan were to divorce today, they would not stop harassing that woman. They made it very clear that they want her gone. Literally gone from the earth. And I'm so glad that, Harry and Meghan were able to stand strong and continue to. And this last week is a perfect example of that. I don't even know, there was meant to be a reunion at Althorpe and the kids were meant to see them. Supposedly Meghan was meant to, be there, and they were meant to go to Diana's memorial. We haven't seen any pictures, no leaks. If that is true, we never saw the kids, we never saw Meghan. We don't even know if that's true because we haven't seen anything. This is all just stipulation that was all coming out. And I think it says a lot about the Spencers if all of that did occur and they did get to see their relatives, and we haven't seen any pictures and we haven't heard or seen anything. There's been almost no leaks if that indeed happened. Meanwhile, as we'll get into shortly, all of the leaks from Charles and Camilla's side and William and Kate's side. And one of the most hilarious things about the last week was the Windsors coming out to try to make it look like they were working. Mind you, even then, they still didn't do a lot. Hi, Mina, you said. Yeah, those so-called journalists are thirsty to be in Harry's space, and yet they claim and say that him and Meghan are irrelevant every single time. And not only that, how desperate they are to be near him. Look at how happy they actually are. Genuinely happy. A lot of the reports and gossip that we hear from the photographers and the royal rotor rats, they can't stand the other royals. Look at the glee on their faces. Chris Ship is ready to just jump straight on Harry and give him the biggest hug. Yeah, Chris Ship he's jumped ship after he went to Ukraine. Mind you, Chris Ship was always a fence sitter, and I've still put fence sitters in the same basket as I put the royal rotor rats that feed into the vitriol, because silence is compliance. You not saying anything is also feeding into the larger culture of abuse. So I would still put Chris Ship in that boat, but he's been smart enough to play the fence and be seen as relatively respectable. And I think this actually makes the other royal rotor rats, the Camilla Tominis, even more furious. But let's have a look at this. So one of the funniest things about Prince Harry's UK visit is the Left Behind Windsors' hyper-awareness of his schedules. They pitifully tried to compete with him, all while publicly saying they're much too busy to meet with him. All of last week, royal reporters were practically tears as they tried to convince everyone that King Charles' schedule is locked down 6 months in advance, and these were always the events he planned to do that week, regardless of Harry's visit. Meanwhile, William and Kate continued their grand tradition of over-promising and under-delivering. They told everyone that they would be booked and busy throughout Harry's visit, but Kate was only seen on Monday, Friday, and Saturday. Personally, I think Kate kept her weak feet in case Meghan turned up and Kate needed some emergency "pay attention to me" busy work. But that's what it felt like for a whole week. The Left Behinds all focused on Harry, all while trying to pretend that they're busy and important. Speaking of, this is a piece of text from the Telegraphs. The week the royal family avoided the Sussex Circus. If you wanted to avoid what you see as the Sussex Circus, you just would have been at home. Benjamin, am I really late? No, you're not too late. We're only just really getting started. You've missed us laughing about the fact that England aren't bringing the cup home and that Harry Kane cursed it because he was bragging about going to golf with Trump, in case you missed that. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. Now we're getting into it. Welcome, Benjamin. So you had the royals out here hanging out with penguins, lemurs, police dogs wearing shoes, poo sticks. Oh, Camilla went to play poo sticks. And engagement filmed by drones and behind the scenes farewell to the man who would have taken a bullet for the king. Oh, did they do some kind of party for one of Charles's bodyguards? I don't know anything about that. There was a round of mini golf with teenagers. Kate at a hospital side. Kate hospital bedside. Princess Anne attended a welding conference. Did she now? See, I didn't even hear about that. Prince William brushed up his Welsh even, finally. And the king painted a snail shell with purple nail polish in the name of scientific research. Wow, they were truly busy. I didn't even know half of that happened. Welcome to the week in the life of a working royal family member. Must be nice. Must be nice to paint the shell of a snail with nail polish for 100 million a year. Now the question remains in all of that, with all of that said, were the Left Behinds busier than usual for the first half of July? Well, yes, given and we've been keeping track of their events and schedules for years. While it's true that there was a rush of events before their 2-month summer holiday that they usually take, they wanted to look extra busy while Harry was here, and possibly if Meghan and the kids were seen. There are legitimately seasons or weeks where they amp up their work for visibility for non-Sussex reasons, but they simply cannot avoid the fact that they always ramp up their schedules around Harry's visits to the UK. Not just that, the Windsors track the Sussex's schedules for other international trips too, especially anything to do with Invictus. William and Kate are always pulling their "look at me" stunts around Invictus events or when the Sussexes are scheduled to travel. This is just a fact. And this is trackable now over years. They do this every single time. And, sorry, let me just sip my tea. It's either they amp up the events around Harry and Meghan's appearances, or they amp up the drama around Harry and Meghan's appearances. So Thomas Markle will just make an appearance out of nowhere. Next time you see Thomas Markle, that leg he got amputated, it would have grown back. Benjamin, yeah, well done. Apparently, Princess Anne, she's really into building and all of that stuff. Yes, well done. I have absolutely no idea what that was about. I don't know. Was it a meeting with the British Builders Association? I don't know. Me too, Benjamin. Wish I could work whenever I felt like it. Yeah, I'm so glad Meghan was able to evade the cameras, but it must have been an absolute mega operation to make that happen. Mega operation. It wouldn't surprise me if they probably leaked some misinformation to evade the cameras and all of that. And of course, there was the meeting with Charles and Camilla. And it wasn't too long before there was before leaks started coming out. Now the Royal Rota Rats are furious because somehow they managed to slip into Highgrove unnoticed on last Friday. Also, it's now become obvious that Kate and William absolutely did not know about this. Now I'm reading from Kaiser because she has something very interesting to say about this. Hang on a sec. She says, long term, I can't escape the gut feeling that the Sussexes' visit to Highgrove will end up being more trouble than it's worth. On Friday, Prince Harry spent much of the day in Birmingham for Invictus 1 Year to Go events. Then he slipped away with his team. They apparently met with Meghan and the children, and they all travelled together to Highgrove, where they spent a few hours with Charles and Camilla. No one is saying that the Sussexes spent the night at Highgrove. I think it's very likely that they went straight from Highgrove to Althorpe, actually, and that they based themselves out of Althorpe from Friday throughout the weekend, minus some goat yoga for Harry on Saturday. So how are the Sussexes able to slip into Highgrove unnoticed, even with the royal reporters stalking their every move? The Mail tried to answer that question with this piece. Inside Charles's reunion with Harry, Meghan and their kids, as a procession of luxury cars swept through the gates of the King's estate on Friday, carrying guests for an exclusive Chanel luncheon, one vehicle attracted little attention. Inside were Harry, his wife, and their children, who arrived at Highgrove for a private family meeting. Far from the cameras and public gaze, the Sussexes entered Charles's 900-acre site unnoticed as dozens of guests turned up for the French fashion house's event to honour students who had completed an elite 24-week embroidery course. A source close to the Mail said there was a large number of cars coming and going from Highgrove, and that allowed the Sussexes' car to blend in and help them to enter the estate without being spotted. Fair enough. And Harry and Meghan were believed to have met Charles and Camilla between 3:30 and 4 p.m. Earlier, there had been clues that something important was unfolding when Harry arrived at the engagement for the Invictus Games at the National Exhibition Centre near Birmingham. An observer said Harry turned up at Invictus with a massive smile plastered all over his face. Looking delighted, it wasn't just acting. He looked absolutely like the cat that had got the cream as well. The rumours started to go around that they were going to Highgrove. The family reunion at Highgrove had clearly put Harry in high spirits. And over the weekend, the Sussexes are believed to be were believed to be staying at Althorpe Estate, the ancestral home of Princess Diana's family, where she is buried on a private island in the middle of a lake. They were so mad that Harry wasn't broken by his legal defeat. And what I want to know is, why did they think that Harry would be broken by his legal defeat? A man that lost his mother when he was a kid, a man that almost lost his wife in the same way, and also suffered a miscarriage. But you think one legal battle is going to break this man? Are the UK tabloids okay? It's like they're so obsessed now with this one-sided battle of breaking Harry and Meghan. They don't understand that Harry and Meghan have healed and moved on. They honestly believed that this loss was going to be some kind of great puncture to Harry's heart. Harry literally just kept on going. Went and did his events with a smile on his face. They had been telling themselves that they finally got him, that they finally had beaten him. Beaten him how? It was a legal challenge. A legal challenge which is going to perhaps still be challenged. And the Daily Fail looks like it's going to lose in other places anyway. I'm pretty sure Harry was just happy because he was around his Invictus community, not because his deadbeat father agreed to see him at the last minute. And as for the Mail theorizing as to how Harry and Meghan got in, sounds to me like they're just fuming because they didn't get photos of the Sussexes in the car heading to Highgrove. Like, they're furiously trying to explain why they didn't get photos or insider information. I think that there were likely very, very strict stipulations for Harry and Meghan going with the children in the first place. That didn't stop Charles and Camilla from leaking afterwards. They absolutely had to tell us that Camilla dropped everything. What would everything be in Camilla's world? What would that be? Afternoon tea with Jeremy Clarkson and Piers Morgan? Would that be her everything that she needed to drop? Hilarious. Yeah, I think Harry had already guessed that he would lose the case. Camilla was the leaker. Wouldn't surprise me. I have a theory that Camilla was kicked out of the room, and that's why we have so many extra leaks. I mean, I'm surprised that she didn't combust the moment she walked in there. Combust at the sight of those sweet, innocent children. That's what usually happens to a witch in the fairy tales, right? I mean, I could imagine in that moment, even being utterly useless as he is, I could imagine Charles actually being very sweet with the grandchildren in that moment. Camilla, on the other hand, I can just see her scolding and seething in the corner. I get the feeling one day we'll know. Okay, so that's that. What else did I need to catch up with? There's quite a lot. Oh yeah, during the whole Invictus 1 year to go, which is what Harry went there for. Uganda were officially initiated into the Invictus family, the first East African country to join the Global Invictus Initiative. This positions Uganda as a rehabilitation veteran sports hub regionally and gives another global platform to attach the Explore Uganda narrative to. And it looks like there's also other initiatives This also this was being promoted by the Ugandan Tourism Board. Lovely. While Harry was in the UK, he was busy. Imagine the few days that Harry was there, the amount of engagements he did. And the amount of meetups he had. Here he is with a gentleman called Dave, catching up with Prince Harry at a recent gathering of former Invictors. Dave previously won gold in discus and bronze in shot put at the Invictus Games. Looks like he went around Dave's house, had a nice little moment with Dave. Also, Harry recorded a podcast. Absolutely hilarious. This is Harry at his best. When I see Harry doing stuff like this, I am so convinced that Harry's going to have his own show or podcast one day. And I think he should. Harry just has natural charisma. He's able to banter in a way that's funny and sweet, not like vulgar and laddish. I think that Harry should have a podcast or some kind of show for men, like talking about, you know, positive things and healthy masculinity and stuff like that, like mental health. That's what I feel like Harry could be very good at, something like that. Or sports. I see that. And I look forward to it if he ever does. Interesting, William seems to want nothing to do with the World Cup. Could he possibly be avoiding Trump? I don't know. It's not like he's avoided Trump in the past, but in the past, anytime he's gone near Donald Trump, he has gotten battered for it. So maybe that is the reason why he's not going. I don't know. I don't think William wants any more heat right now. Also, the protesters that got into Buckingham Palace. Well done. Now, Buckingham Palace opens for short windows of the year. And security is very tight. So, I don't know how they managed to get this through. It looks like a cloth. Yeah, it's a cloth. So, they could have easily just folded it into like the seam of their bag. Sorry, into the seam of their bag. They could have disguised it. The yellow thing could have been disguised as a scarf. However they did it, well done to them. Fantastic way of protesting. Also, well done to the Not My King folk at the trooping. They're getting smarter. See, they knew that they would go after people's signs. So if you didn't see it, when they were at trooping, one of the things that the Not My King folk did was they had letters printed on umbrellas. And then they opened the umbrellas. And that forced the camera crews, the Sky News camera crews that were doing the live feed of trooping, to have to change camera angles. Brilliant and hilarious. Keep it up, guys. Keep asking. Yeah, what did you know? And asking so right at the heart of the establishment, right in Buckingham Palace. What did you know? Well done. Also, other great news. Probably should have started with this, but there's so much for me to catch up with and cover. Congratulations to Meghan and her team. With love, Meghan is nominated for an Emmy. Outstanding Lifestyle Program. Other nominees are The Wizard of Pause, The Motherhood, Door to the Rescue, A Different Breed. Has anybody in the comment section watched any of these other shows? And if you have watched any of these other shows, because I haven't, with all honesty, do you believe that any of them deserve a win over Meghan's show? Do you think any of them are better than Meghan's show? Or do you believe that Meghan's show is likely to win in this category? Give your honest opinions. Not just because you like Meghan, because I'd be interested to know off of honest opinions, just because I've never watched any of the other shows. So I can't compare and say this one is is better in any way than Meghan's show. But of course, I do hope that Meghan wins, and I hope that she shows up and looks fabulous, as I know she will. The last time we saw her on a super glam red carpet, it was that Gatsby themed event, and she just looked amazing. Meghan does have this very minimalist kind of style. The color blocking. But I would like to see her in something extravagant, like with sequins. But I just don't think that's really her thing. I think she has a signature look, but like an Ellie Saab or a Zorai Murad or a Schiaparelli. Actually, I don't know. No, I don't think Schiaparelli is Meghan's thing. But maybe a Zorai Murad or an Ellie Saab, something with sequins. Would love to see it. And we look forward to that. Live October 30th. And can you imagine if, first of all, her on the red carpet is going to be an event in itself. And if the team wins, my gosh. Now, you know, the palace has already pre-booked a whole week of events leading up to October 40th. They're going to pull some kind of banquet or afternoon, glamorous afternoon tea out of their hats or something. October 30th. Can't wait. What else do I need to cover? Well, let's get to your comments and then we'll get on to why the Daily Fail is still losing. Also, make sure to come back later today, folks. I will be doing a follow-up podcast on Harry's evening at the sports gala and some other news stories as well. Most of you are saying you haven't heard or watched any of these shows. Sam, you said, nope, haven't heard any of the home improvement. Haven't heard, seen or heard any, but the home improvement show might be a competition. Fair enough. The Wizard of Pause and George to the Rescue are tough competition, but With Love is also very strong too. Yeah. It's definitely going to get the popularity vote, right? Because it's the most well-known out of all of them. And actually, out of all of them, it's probably the only one with international recognition. The Emmys is obviously an American award show. Never heard of any of these shows. No. Is it daytime or night? There's two Emmys. That's a good question. I think is it daytime? I'll double check. Helen, you said, and did you see Prince George and Princess Charlotte at Wimbledon last Sunday when they met a disabled child? They looked at the child with disgust and didn't know how to communicate with him. Listen, I try not to say too much about the kids, but what you've said, Helen, you're not the first person to have picked up on this. Not just this Wimbledon that's gone, but at other events as well. I do think that these kids are very isolated. I don't think they really have normal interactions with a lot of normal people outside of their circle. I also do think that it is asking a lot of children to have to engage with the public in the way that the royal children are forced to engage with the public. I don't think it's natural. I don't think it's normal. And so I don't blame them for having a certain level of discomfort. Now, I guess what you're alluding to, Helen, in your comments specifically, because this was a disabled child is, maybe you feel, and again, you're not the first person who's said this, that perhaps, they are being raised in a way that makes them look down on, other people. But again, at this point, I would be looking to the parents and how they are raising these children. When these children are of grown adult age, I will judge them as I would judge any grown adults. But as of now, they are children, and any behavior that I pick up on, I will be looking at the parents and asking questions of the parents, not the children. I genuinely think it's very sad the way in which royal children are trotted out. And I'm glad that it's something that Harry and Meghan's children don't have to be subjected to. And I think it's very disappointing and sad that this seems to be a tradition that is continuing. Mind you, by the time the royals' children actually grow up, I think that the tolerance for the monarchy is going to be so low, that the interest in the monarchy is going to be so low, that I actually don't even see the point of bringing them out like this, because the whole point of having the kids out of these events is to prime them for public life when they're older. But one has to consider where the monarchy is now and where it will be when these children come of age. So I would just say, actually, I think we need to stop trotting out the royal kids for events and have the royal kids focus on just being people that are going to be working individuals of society, not royals. Definitely not in the way that their parents and grandparents have been. Sunday, you said, yeah, I don't know what the kids are thinking, but I can see being annoyed having to show face for all these public events. Exactly. I want you to think of how annoyed you were as a kid at the at the family barbecue. At the family barbecue, and you're being, forced to see this auntie, and this auntie's pulling your hair, and that one wants to give you a hug. Not that you don't love your family, of course, but as a kid, even stuff like that was annoying. And then you're being trotted out in front of strangers and in front of the cameras, in front of the press. It's just, ugh. It's not normal and it's not okay. Anyway, thank you for bringing that up, Helen. In the Daily Fail are going to continue to fail news. I didn't even know about this court case at all. So, Dale Vince wins damages on appeal over unfair Daily Mail headline juxtaposition. Green energy industrialist awarded damages after taking case to Court of Appeal. So let's have a read of this. I'm here for the Daily Mail losing. So green energy industrialist Dale Vince has won a 3-year legal battle against the Daily Mail after he was misleadingly pictured next to a headline about an SEX pest Labour donor. Daily Mail publisher Associated Newspapers will be ordered to pay damages after a Court of Appeal ruling found in Vince's favour, the first successful data protection claim of its kind. Well, congratulations to him, not just for his win, but it seems like he's going to set a precedent for future cases. Vince declared the judgment means headlines won't be the same again. In June 2023, Daily Fail published an article on Mail Plus with the headline, Labour repays 100,000 to S-Pest donor. The term was S-harassment donor in the print version. Vince was pictured twice alongside the print article, and one of the images featured a circle around his face, but he was not the man referred to in the headline. I mean, that is just disgusting. Because now people would have seen that and think that he's the pest. So I can 100% see why he would sue. The article was about a city financier, David Serra, accused of sexual harassment, who had donated 100,000 to Labour, which the party returned. Vince was first mentioned in the 4th paragraph when the article said, and Labour faced further embarrassment yesterday when businessman Dale Vince, who had donated 1.5 to the party, joined an eco-protest in London with Just Oil Stop the group he is helping to bankroll. In the version of the story on the Mail Plus app, the images of Vince were changed to one of Sarah 47 minutes after publication, but the original version was available on Press Radar until October 2023. Vince initially brought defamation proceedings against Associated Papers, but this claim was struck out in July 2024 when the High Court judge followed the Charleston versus News Corp newspaper's precedent that a libel claim must be founded on the whole article taken together, not solely a headline. But that to me is so unfair, because if what is printed suggests that you did something, especially something like harassment, as a man, the article is still implying that you did something wrong when you didn't. Even if the article in its entirety isn't saying that, the headline is suggesting that, and that's what visually people are seeing. Mind you, most people only read the headline anyway, the headline and the picture. Vince then pursued a data protection claim for unfair processing, but this was thrown out last July by High Court Mr. Justice Swift, who said he had no real prospect of success and that the case was an abuse of process. The Court of Appeal has now ruled that Mr. Justice Swift's decision should be reversed and summary judgment for damages should be granted to Vince. I'm telling you, these judges, they just work for the press. I wouldn't be surprised if they do deals backdoor. Explaining why the previous judge was wrong, the judgment noted that the privacy clause of the Editor's Code of Practice enforced by press regulator IPSO, which the Daily Fail is a member of, IPSO that does nothing but gives slaps on the wrist, must make clear that newspapers must take care not to publish misleading information or images, including headlines not supported by the text, which goes beyond the accuracy of obligation. You see, technically speaking, half of the nonsense that the Daily Mail publish would have them seeing a courtroom. The problem is most people don't have the finances to bring them to that courtroom. That's what this is telling me. Okay, let me just try and find a summary because the article is actually quite long. I don't want to read the whole thing. Let's have a look. Yeah, do you know what? I will actually post this on the community tab later if you want to read in full why this went in his favor. But I'm very impressed that he took this fight all the way to the end. And I hope that this creates a change. He said, the fallacy at the heart of libel law is the assumption that people read both the headlines and the articles in full. Exactly, that's what I just said. We all know this is not true. We can scan headlines and think we know the story is, but that element of libel law has stood for over 3 decades. While the internet grew, social media came into the world, and our attention spans famously shrunk. Libel law in our country is not fit for purpose. It needs updating in the modern era. That's not a fight I intend to pursue. I think I've done enough for now. Amen to you, sir. But he's very right in that. And these people, they print lies every single day, knowing that people don't have the money to pursue them. Even if it's the smallest little lie, you should still be able to sue them. A documentary that I often recommend that you watch, and I'll recommend it again today, Starsuckers by Chris Atkinson. Is it Chris Atkinson or Chris Atkins? Anyway, it's called Starsuckers. If you search for it on YouTube, I think it's like a part 1 and part 2. They also exposed Piers Morgan and other cronies in that documentary. I feel like that documentary is actually more relevant today than it was even when it came out. But in that documentary, one of the things that they show is how easy it is to plant false stories in the tabloids. So somebody rings up a tabloid and says that they were at a party and Amy Winehouse's hair caught on fire. And they pay her for that story without cross-checking or verifying the story. They pay her for it. Why? Why do they pay her for it and why don't they cross-check? Because it's a story that's not likely to have them end up in court. And at the time, if we all remember what happened to Amy Winehouse, they were printing all types of things about her. So Amy Winehouse's hair caught on fire. I mean, that was child's play compared to what they were reporting about her at the time. And this is the culture that they are so used to writing their garbage in. They don't actually write the news. It's just salacious gossip and nonsense, and they know that they can get away with it, especially if they write things that they know are likely to not be followed up by any legal pursuit. Helen, you said, oh, Dale Vince is mega rich, so he's able to sue, whereas an average person can't afford to. Thank you for letting me know, Helen. Yeah, an average person probably wouldn't be able to take it this far. Actually, if you watch Starsuckers, this is something else that they look into as well. And actually, a rather tragic case of one lady. I won't ruin it, but she had her life ruined because of it, and she never saw justice. Yeah, they're literally getting away with murder. They are the reason I still believe to this day that Carolyn Flack unalived herself. There are actually people to this day that believe that Carolyn Flack unalived her partner, that her partner is dead, because of that headline, which I believe was Dan Wooten was responsible for that. So if you don't know the headline that I'm talking about, in The Sun, it was a blood from the crime scene where Carolyn Flack and her partner had had a physical altercation. But they made it look like the blood was her partner's and it was actually her blood. And the blame for the whole whatever domestic dispute happened between them got put on Carolyn. And imagine an image of blood on sheets on a bed. That is a very powerful and striking image. And like the point we just made now, the image and the headline is mostly what people look at and create a story in their minds about. And so they shouldn't be able to do stuff like this and get away with it. I hope this is the beginning of many more lawsuits that are going to be coming to the Daily Fail. There's also copyright lawsuits that are going to be coming to them as well. Okay. It's almost coming to an hour. I appreciate all of you for being here. Sorry, I think I am clashing with Baron, but I had to just come on live because I had a moment to. I still have a very busy day. I appreciate you for being here, and please do come back later on today. And we will catch up with more things later. I appreciate you all so much. Heather, how can they put murder evidence in the paper? No. It's not that the image was murder evidence. It was the way in which it was presented made it look like the blood was her partner's blood, and the way in which the story was presented, many people, and listen, in today's society, a lot of people, the intelligence levels are going down the drain. So there are genuinely people out there who believe to this day, because the lie goes further than the truth, that Carolyn Flack unalived her partner, or that blood in that image was the blood of her partner when it was Carolyn's. That's what I meant to say. Sorry if I caused any confusion. Okay. Yeah, the Daily Mail is going down. And with that, I will wrap things up. Enjoy the rest of your day, folks. Do come back later. We'll talk about Harry's event and a couple of other things as well. See you soon. Ciao.